It's not just in Europe. War clouds are gathering over East Asia as well, and it seems like Japan has spotted them. The country is planning a major defense spending blitz. How much money are we talking about? Around $53 billion. The request has been submitted by the Defense Ministry of Japan. If approved, it would be a record, Japan's highest ever spending on its military. But Tokyo's plans do not end there. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has a long roadmap. He wants to increase Japan's defense spending by 43 trillion yen in 5 years. How much is 43 trillion yen? Around 290 billion US dollars. If completed, defense would make up 2% of Japan's GDP. Now, to give you some context, NATO countries are required to spend 2% of their GDP on defense. Japan is not a NATO member, but clearly the thought process is the same. And we can't emphasize how important this spending is. Japan is a pacifist country. Their constitution does not provide for an army. They don't have an army. What they have is called a self-defense force. Plus, there is a lot of history here. Japan was an aggressor during the Second World War. Their neighbors have bad memories of Japanese militarism. So Japan arming itself is not just strategic. It is also traumatic for many countries. And Tokyo is aware of all of this. Since the 1960s, they imposed spending limits on defense, not more than 1% of the GDP. That's what Japan had. So why are they doubling it now? Why are they targeting 2%? Because of China, and to a lesser extent because of North Korea as well. Last year, Japan published a new national security strategy, their first in almost 10 years. Look at what it says on China. The strategic challenge posed by China is the biggest that Japan has ever faced. And remember, this is a country that was devastated by nuclear bombs, whose neighbor is a rogue nuclear state, yet they call China their biggest challenge ever. It tells you what Tokyo is thinking. We will detail where Japan is spending this money, but first, some comparisons. At $53 billion, where would Japan's defense budget stand? At number 9 in the world. The US defense budget is around $877 billion. $877 billion. China is around $292 billion. Russia is third. India is fourth with $81 billion. Then you have Saudi Arabia, Britain, Germany, and France. If Japan spends $53 billion, it would slot in after France at number 9. Other countries are also ramping up defense spending, but not at this pace. The global increase in defense spending was around 3.7%. And Japan's around 13% in the upcoming financial year. And where is this money going? Around $8 billion has been set aside to upgrade missile defenses. This will help Japan counter possible attacks from North Korea. Around $500 million has been earmarked for fighter jets. Japan is making them with the UK and Italy, fighter jets. Also on the list are Tomahawk cruise missiles, new destroyers, and also more cyber warriors. Japan's cybersecurity unit has around 900 personnel. The plan is to increase that to 2,400. All of this will make Japan a complete fighting force, not just against China, but against North Korea as well. You see, on Wednesday, Pyongyang tested 2 ballistic missiles. They traveled around 400 kilometers before landing in waters between North Korea and Japan. What was the purpose of this test? To rehearse nuclear attacks on South Korea. Pyongyang also conducted a separate drill on occupying the South. Now, these are simulations. They're practicing. But they reveal North Korea's thought process. They're readying for anything, and that includes war. The US, too, is making moves in the region. They have approved another military package for Taiwan, a package worth $80 million, just peanuts compared to the earlier ones. But this one is special. It's called the FMF. That stands for Foreign Military Financing, FMF. And usually a package like this is a country-to-country deal. The US gives this assistance to other countries, FMF. But Taiwan is not a country, is it? The US follows the One China policy, so it recognizes Taiwan as a part of China. How then can this deal be legal? The US says it does not violate their One China policy, but Beijing is not buying it.
This severely violates the One China principle and the stipulations of the 3 China-US joint communiques, especially the August 17th communique of 1982, and international law and basic norms governing international relations, and undermines China's sovereignty and security interests. China deplores and firmly opposes it.
The Pacific is following the old military theory. The best way to prevent war is to prepare for it. And how do you prepare for war? By arming yourself. But more weapons also has a downside. It means more risk of a miscalculation. That's the big worry around this arms race in the Pacific, which is why open communication is so important. But don't expect much from China. Their policy is to poke neighbors and claim their territory. Confidence building is not their strong suit. As for Japan, the big challenge is to find a balance between the threat of China and the pacifist public opinion.